Welcome to a very special episode of Trade Targets for Week 9 of the 2019 Fantasy Football season. I'm Ben, and with me as always is Matty Nice. If this is your first time tuning into the channel, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification button. Leave a comment below about some trade scenarios, and we'd be happy to answer them for you. But let's get on with the show. This week, why it's special is we're focusing on players that have great playoff schedules. So we're talking Week 14, Week 15, Week 16. If you play in a bizarre league that has your playoffs in Week 17, this is not going to be informative for you. But Matt, who's the first player you want to target that has a favorable playoff schedule?
Okay, so stick with me a little bit on this one. I've got David Montgomery. And I know we actually talked about maybe trading him after his big day, but his playoff schedule is Dallas, who's 16th against the run for fantasy running backs, at Green Bay. We know that their run defense isn't very good. And at home versus Kansas City in Week 16. Very good schedule there for him. He's going to be the lead back by that time. There's going to be really no challenge for carries besides Cohen will get his odds and ends. But it looked like they were starting to come around to giving David Montgomery a full load. By this time, it should be good because before that, he's even got at Detroit, who's ranked number 30th against fantasy running backs.
Yeah, and if you look at his schedule just from Week 10 on, it's Detroit 30, the Rams 17, the Giants 22, at Detroit 30. So that's a really good stretch there. My only concern about this is that playing at Dallas is going to score points. Green Bay is going to score points. Kansas City is going to score points. This isn't the best offense here in Chicago, and there might be chasing points. And when they're chasing points, Montgomery might be getting back to his 3 carries, and Cohen will see a lot of the field.
Possibly, but the strength that we've talked about multiple times against Kansas City is to just run the rock so keep Mahomes off the field. They'll probably try to do that against Green Bay. Dallas is an okay offense. I mean, I'm not overly concerned. And their defense is plenty good enough to hold these other offenses like Detroit and the Giants to minimal points.
For sure. On those ones, yeah. My only worry would be that you get that bust performance that we've seen from him with the 3 carries. So I think actually Tariq Cohen is someone you can get for very cheap that you should be looking to pick up in not as the primary asset that you're trading for, but as a secondary or third asset to have on your list. So yeah, I do agree it's a great schedule. And if they run the game plan perfectly, Montgomery's going to be really good. If they get behind early and can't catch up, it's going to be Cohen who, in a flex position, could have a nice day for you. But that was a good call.
That could also be a bust, though, too.
Absolutely. One of the trade targets that I was looking at was Chris Carson. Why don't you tell us what Chris Carson's schedule's like?
Okay, so the Seahawks have here Rams in Week 14 at Rams, at Carolina Week 15, and at home to the Cardinals in Week 16. So that is the 17th ranked running back or ranked defense against running backs, 28 and 18. Pretty favorable schedule there for Carson.
Yeah, and you saw what Tevin Coleman did to Carolina this past week. So I really like the schedule. He's a player that you could probably make a trade for. There's another player who has a really great schedule that you probably won't be able to get, and that's Cook.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. So you're not going to be able to get Dalvin Cook. So this is, to me, the next best person to look at with a favorable schedule, simply because that Cleveland situation, can't really trust that at this point. It'd be a gamble to go after him. So Carson is one of the players that I'm targeting in trade for my playoff run on a team that has a winning record that's basically a shoo-in for the playoffs.
The thing with Carson, he does have 3 pretty bad matchups prior to that. At San Francisco next week, Week 10, then the bye. And then at Philly and Minnesota, all good run defenses. In terms of trade value chart, he's also quite high. That is why I left him off on this.
He also has Tampa Bay this week, which is a decent run defense as well.
Yeah. So
his trade value would be, what's the number, Matt?
It is 28.
28.
Yeah, so it's pretty high. It's right below Aaron Jones and right above Todd Gurley.
Based on name value alone, do you think you could trade Todd Gurley to get him?
You probably could. I wouldn't do that trade if I had the Carson side of it, but there's a lot of owners that would take that just because of Gurley's name value.
And the thing about Gurley is there's always the risk that he doesn't make it to your fantasy playoffs.
Exactly.
So if you don't have Darrell Henderson, you might be out of luck. Well, let's talk Aaron Jones, because I know you're high on Aaron Jones, and he is tearing it up right now with all of his touchdowns and decent games. But I'm not overly high on Aaron Jones simply because Jamal Williams has played very well as well. In a league, it's only a 1-point value. I'm surprised it's not more between Aaron Jones and Chris Carson. Would you trade Aaron Jones for Chris Carson?
I'm getting Jones?
You're getting Carson.
Yeah. Oh, no.
So you would rather have Jones?
Yeah.
Okay. So I would rather have Carson. So if I had Jones and you had Carson, we could make a deal.
Yeah, and I get what you're saying with Jamal Williams, but Aaron Jones has been doing it with Jamal Williams there. He had the one big game when he was out with the 4 touchdowns against Dallas, but the guy's just getting it done. You can't really say much more about him, honestly. You want to keep beating him down, but he...
No, I don't think he's bad. It's just he's going to have a game where he just doesn't get anything going because he hasn't been touchdown dependent, but he hasn't been getting that many touches. Like his touches compared to Jamal Williams have been kind of in the ballpark of the Phil Lindsay, Royce Freeman type of split. There's just a better offense that's getting it done.
They're like double what Jamal Williams is getting if you factor in the catches. It was like 20-11 on Sunday night.
So he's getting a bit more than that, but still a bit of a committee to me, and I just don't trust it, especially since it's going to be definitely a playoff team, and they can see them resting the running back if they don't really need to use him in those weeks and just giving more of a load to Jamal Williams there.
I think they'll be fighting for a bye.
Possibly,
49ers, Saints, etc.
That's a good point as well. Let's move on here to some wide receivers. Matt, do you have a wide receiver that you think has a great schedule that you'd be looking to get?
Yeah, I do. And a lot of people aren't going to like this, but it's Tyler Boyd. The Bengals' schedule coming up for the playoffs is pretty poor. They do have the Patriots on Week 15, so skip that one, but they've got the Ravens Week 10, which is 21st against the receivers, Raiders 27, Steelers 20th, Jets 25, Browns 15, Patriots in the semifinals, which isn't ideal, and at Miami in the Week 16 there. So aside from the New England defense there, they have a very favorable schedule. They have a new quarterback coming in. Tyler Boyd is also number 3 in targets since Week 5.
Interesting. The New England thing, if A.J. Green is playing and still on the team, they'll look to take him away, so that would leave Boyd open. The other problem I have with this schedule, though, is that it's 2 road games and 1 home game. At Cleveland, at Miami, which is, well, that's not really a road game at this point. That's a nice trip to Miami. So, yeah, I don't mind it. And he's someone you could definitely get for really cheap. What's his trade value?
Number 12.
So, very cheap. Let's take a look at some wide receivers around there who you have who might have less than ideal matchups, so you could just ship away for them.
The problem with the Miami game is both teams might be trying to lose.
That is the number 1 pick on the line bowl.
Yeah. You'd be looking in about Michael Gallup, John Brown.
John Brown, easy.
I think I'd even take him over Robert Woods right now, just because that offense is, who knows. But Cooks is
with
question.
Cooks, I would do it over Gallup, though.
Yeah. Ridley's a tougher one. I think I'd take Boyd over that, but it's not like a slam dunk there. Take him over McLaurin.
Ooh, I would not. The reason I wouldn't is because McLaurin has a very favorable matchup. Here's his last 6. The Jets at home, Detroit at home, at Carolina, tough one at Green Bay, but then he gets Philly and the Giants at home to end the season. That's ranked 31 and 30th against wide receivers. I would rather have that than Tyler Boyd. Currently, he's ranked lower than Boyd on the trade chart. He's a player that I'm targeting. Again, not as a primary piece. I'm going to be looking to make this more of like a 3-person trade or a 2-player trade where he gets involved in it as well, and I'm getting a better player.
So I'm trading you Boyd for McLaurin. You're taking it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm taking that. Especially with how bad that team's been. Rookie quarterback coming in. A.J. Green coming back. There's a lot of uncertainty for the Bengals. There's definitely one certain thing about Washington, and that's that McLaurin's by far their best wide receiver.
A.J. Green, I think will help Tyler Boyd.
I agreed with that as well. You know what? Why don't we just go on to quarterbacks here, and we'll talk about someone that I'm not looking to trade for any of these quarterbacks. If you have a quarterback that's doing pretty good, you should be fine sticking with your quarterback. There are quarterbacks that I would like to get rid of, and one of them is Jared Goff. He has a very bad matchup coming up for the playoffs. Another quarterback who has really bad matchups is Patrick Mahomes, but there's no way that I'm trading out of that one. So quarterback's a bit different, where for a good player like Patrick Mahomes or a Matt Ryan, Drew Brees, or even Aaron Rodgers, who are on the bottom end of this strength of schedule for quarterbacks, I'm not looking to get out of them. But Jared Goff is a player. If he's been my quarterback, I'm looking to trade out of there, or I'm looking to do something real sneaky and pick up Baker Mayfield. Not dropping Goff for him. I'm just going to use that and look to run with him. The playoffs are weeks away.
Mm-hmm.
This Browns offense could get it put together by then. And you look at the schedule here for Baker. Matt, what is it?
Week 14 at home to Cincinnati, ranked 26th against the quarterback. Week 15 at Arizona, so in a dome. They're ranked 30th, and at home versus the Ravens in Week 16 in the finals for most leagues. He lit them up the first time they played. My Nick Chubb, I guess, did too. Their whole offense did really well the first time they played the Ravens.
Yeah, so again, Baker's probably free on your waiver wire. If you have Goff right now, I'm not saying to dump Goff. I know you need a quarterback this week. Baker's got a tough matchup this week. But at some point, look to maybe pick up Baker Mayfield so you're running two quarterbacks come playoff time so that you don't have to deal with Goff. Again, if you have Mahomes, Rodgers, Ryan, Brees, you don't need to do this and look for something else, but Baker's an interesting name to pick up because he could be free out there. Anybody else that you're interested in trading for? Maybe a tight end?
The tight ends didn't really do it for me based off of
me
the value. Well, just the values, they're all so close. Except for Everett, which I'm not taking over any of these guys here.
Basically with tight ends, something I saw when I was doing the rankings today, the top six remain the same. The only person that jumped in was Ertz because Hooper was out, and then everybody else just moved up one. Whatever tight end you've been running, you're most likely going to stick with. The tight ends are going to be a secondary part of any trade. If you do a 2-for-2, then maybe you'll get a tight end upgrade if you get a lower. Like if I was to trade you Aaron Jones and you give me Chris Carson,
nice.
There's probably a tight end bump that I can get in there to a certain extent.
I'll trade you Evan Ingram. You can give me Hunter Henry, according to this chart.
Okay. I'd have to look at the strength of schedule before I did that to make sure that I wasn't shooting myself in the foot.
Giants have a pretty nice schedule. So do the Chargers.
I thought they did.
Yeah, but like the Giants have in the final 2 weeks, they're Miami and Washington with Philly the week before. And the Chargers have Jaguars at Jacksonville, at home to Minnesota, and at home to the Raiders in week 16.
So there you have it. That's basically going to wrap it up for this. I just wanted to say one thing before we ended. We talk about trading for this one player all the time. If you're on a team that's at 4-4, 3-5, 5-3, and you have holes in your lineup, there's nothing wrong with trading a really good player for two players in order to fill those holes. Like take OBJ, whose value's in the toilet right now. If you were to trade a good receiver to pick up OBJ and another startable asset, that's a trade that you can do. It doesn't matter what you're trading away. It might be the best player. Like if you're trading away Michael Thomas to get yourself an Odell Beckham and a Keenan Allen because you need wide receiver help, that's a fine trade to do because both of those guys could play up to the Michael Thomas level. So don't be afraid to do that if you're looking to fill holes in your lineup. Most of the time when you're in a playoff position, you don't have holes in your lineup, so that's why we keep talking about targeting single players. But just wanted to mention that in case you are still trying to make those playoffs and you're a little bit behind, you're looking to catch up and fill some holes, those are the type of trades you want to be making. Matt, anything to add?
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hopefully you're doing both.
That's it.